Welcome to Proudly Asian, a podcast series that tells bold and proud stories of Asians by Asians. I'm Isabel Wong, a financial journalist who wants to uncover the many Asian stories around us that are waiting to be told. There's never just one way to look at Asians. This podcast will take you through a deep dive into the life stories, struggles, and triumphs of young Asians around the world. On today's episode, we have Ravi Prakash, a 29-year-old Hong Kong-based Indian software engineer from Patna, the capital city of Bihar, India. He's also the co-founder of healthy butter brand Spreadable. He will be telling us about how growing up Indian shaped his personal beliefs and why he does not mind getting racist comments. Welcome to Proudly Asian, Ravi. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you, Isabel. It's actually great to be here. I'm getting a chance to tell my stories.
Yeah,
good.
it's our pleasure to get to hear your story because as a friend of yours, I also don't know much about your story. So it's a very good chance for me to get to know more about you because for our audience who don't know, like we've been friends for a couple years now, at least. And I still remember the first time I met you, which was from a previous job. He was a colleague of mine, and he would always have this beaming smile that catches everyone's eyes. And I mean, that's what caught my eye as well. And you were wearing this like tight fitted white jumper that sort of shows that you work out or you're healthy, and at the same time you were heating up a healthy lunch that was prepared by yourself. That was my first impression of you. But 2 years on, you still have that beaming smile, but are you still healthy?
not really. But yeah, COVID have changed a lot of things, and one of the thing is how active I am or how much working out I am. That has been changed quite a bit. But yeah, I still cook for myself.
Okay.
It's one of the thing. I like it.
And today you might still be wearing the same jumper that I saw you or I met you for the first time. So
yeah. Actually, I pick up similar clothes all the time. So it maybe it's same. I don't remember, but similar style.
Yeah,
I
but
usually pick up the same thing.
if it works, it works. So
Yeah.
it makes it easier. Like you don't have to spend so much time in the morning to choose your outfit.
Exactly. I don't need to decide what I'm wearing because I know what I bought already. So it's very easy. Just put on everything, whatever you have, it's gonna suit anyway.
But today we have a very jam-packed agenda because I have lots of questions for you. But why don't we get started with a brief introduction about yourself? First things first, tell us about your background. Who are you? What are you? And where did you grow up?
Sure. So I'm originally from one of the state in India called Bihar, and I grew up in the capital city of Patna, actually. Uh, mm, to to exactly point out about myself would be I come up with like really middle class family, like typical middle class family, maybe lower class family in India. I grew up really poor there, and uh, the situation where you have limited choices to make. Like either you can do A or B, or there is no many choices. You can pick up same career which your neighbors are picking up, your cousins are picking up. You cannot go really divert on that. So that's exactly what happened with me. Uh, I I started. I completed my schooling in the same places, and then I think I left. I started living by myself, like a independent person, quite early age, around I think 14 or 15-year old. I think I was 14. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. So what exactly happened is I picked up a career engineering, like because the reason was there's not much option. Either you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be engineer. If you are a rich person, go become a doctor. If you don't have enough money, just become an engineer. There are a lot of engineering college you can get into that. So that's what happened. I decided, okay, I want to do that, and for that I need to move away from my hometown because there is no good places to actually prepare for the entrance exams. That's why I started living by myself pretty early. Yeah, things worked out pretty well. Now I'm working as a full time software engineer. Uh, I think that was a good decision. Yeah,
The money is good.
money is good. The good thing about software engineering is it doesn't get affected by COVID. To be honest, for last 2 year, to I think I realized this thing that around other people who I met or who I interact usually, they have been keep complaining about, oh yeah, the COVID has been eating their salary, eating their opportunity and stuff like that, or then they need to switch the jobs and stuff like that. For me, for last 2 year, I'm working from home pretty comfortably. No
That's
need to go to
nice.
office. Yeah.
And I know you moved to you moved from the city to a house that's near a beach.
Yeah, yeah. So it's one of my hobby is to do water sports usually.
Mm.
Back in the day before pre-COVID, I used to go to Bali for 3 4 months actually, sometimes 3 months, or stay there, go for surfing, and that time I used to have a long hair. I was I was totally living a hippie life. Uh, but yeah, just before COVID, like around end of 2019, I realized, yeah, I'm getting old.
Well, for everyone's reference, Ravi is 29.
Yeah. Well, that time I was entering in the era called late 20s. So now I cannot even say that. Oh yeah, I'm in early 20s. So that was one of the soccer for me, and just before I think I was turning 27 or 26. I don't remember exactly. I cut my hair and become really highly professional guy, side part haircut rather than a hippie man one. I get rid of that.
But how does that lifestyle fit into perhaps the society expectations or expectations from your parents? Like, are they liking how you lived your life? Because I do know that in the Asian culture or Asian context, parents' opinions or comments are very important to most people.
Yeah. So uh, for other places or other countries, we have this perception that whatever you do, the individualistic thoughts, whatever you do, is more important uh, than what your family is doing. Or if I say it in a different term, a single person, what he is doing is more important than what his family is doing. Actually, this is not the case for Asia, or typically this is not the case for Indian family or in India actually. For them, how society perceive you or your family does matter a lot for them. Right now, my younger brother as well, he is living outside India and he's finishing uh, his masters in Germany. uh, for my parents, it's like, oh yeah, it's a good thing to tell the society. All of my kids are doing pretty well. So their perception has been in the society. Their perception has been changed totally. That, oh yeah, they raise their children well. For me, it's a normal thing. Like, oh yeah, you find an opportunity to work in a different country. You started living there, and it's fine. For our generation, it's fine. But for their generation, it's a thing to tell. Other people come to them and ask for the advice, like, how did that happen? What do you need to do? Or let's tell my kids as well how hardworking your kids was, or things like that. So it does happen over there.
Right. So would you say they're incredibly proud about you being a software engineer? Because of course, this is one of the hottest professions currently, and not just in India, right? Like in other Asian countries, we're increasingly seeing parents saying that they need to send their children to coding schools rather than sending them to like piano lessons or some traditional hobby or interest groups.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, for an Indian family, it's not quite different actually. Uh, IT has been quite popular in India, or especially like computer science. You going to find a lot of people who study computer science. I have a personal thoughts about it that because the computer science can switch your lifestyle very fast. One day you don't have a job, you study for 6 or 7 months, and pretty much you can find a job, and you can get a better salary, and it can change your lifestyle. Because of this understanding, people realize this thing like early 2000, that time when Y2K happened. If anybody knows that, I can give a little bit context on that. So basically, in back in the time, the computer was designed to hold only two letters for the years, like 1919. Rather than saying 1999, they just say 99 or 96, 97, something like that. When the 2000 happened, they needed to change that format and needed to put 2001 rather than just one. Because of that, what happened that a lot of software needed to be rebuilt or needed to tweak at least. And exactly same time, Bangalore, like one of the city in India, had a lot of people who were actually working on IT field, and those all jobs get sent to India, and that's how the IT got boomed up in Bangalore. It first started in Bangalore, and then it spread out in whole country. So, and because the IT was more become more popular in early 2000, because of that, the government picked it up that, oh yeah, this is the booming industry, and a lot of industrialists also picked it up, and they open up a lot of universities to teach people how to study computer science or how to code or things like that. So the engineering college started to build more and more, and because of that, more people realize, oh, there are more engineering colleges, why not go for engineering? And that's the cycle happen. And when there are more engineering college, then there are more engineers getting produced, and they are getting better salary and better job, and other people are looking at it, and then they are going to the same university again. When the university see that there are a lot of people coming in, they build more universities, and that's how the cycle moved. And yeah, the IT become boom. So yeah, coming to your point, that is it a unique thing? Not exactly, it's not a unique thing. But looking at the population and the economical diversity in India, it's quite popular. It's quite a thing that, yeah, your kids or your members of family are working in software engineering.
Of course, when it comes to stereotypical image about Indians, people would obviously sort of associate you guys to being in IT, being software engineers. So because of this image, like people tend to think when they look at Indians or when they meet an Indian person, they would just immediately assume that person might be in IT for whatever reason. But in your view, professionally, with your experience, do you think Indian engineers are actually better than engineers from other countries, or there's no such thing?
Okay, this could be quite controversial, actually.
Yes.
I, in my personal opinion, and it's totally my personal opinion, and that's totally influenced by people I have worked with till now. I have seen really good Indian engineers as well, but the because for last five year I'm working in Hong Kong, and I meet different engineers as well. I worked in India for 2 years, and that I found some good one. I found really terrible one as well. Uh, but yeah, in my general opinion, I have seen that India does have a lot of engineers or a lot of programmers, but when you see the quality, like one person are changing a lot, or the quality of engineers, I don't find there. They do have a numbers, and when you talk about the numbers, if I say 1% people are really good engineers, that's like a general statement. Like everywhere you go, 1% people gonna be really good into their job, another gonna be mediocre or maybe bad as well. So I see that if I say 1%, we have a maybe million people in million engineer in India, and 1% translate to how much? 1,000. Maybe it's wrong. 1,000. Yeah. But when you see how many developers or programmers are in Russia, that you will find, oh yeah, they only have 1,000 maybe, or maybe more. My numbers are totally my guess. I'm just trying to convey the idea. So in that 1,000, 1% gonna be 10, which translate into the quality. When you see that, yeah, I only interacted with 5 Russian programmers, and they are really really good. So my perception comes like, oh yeah, Russian programmers are really good, and that's one of the thing for me, that India does have a lot of developer IT people working in, but they don't have quality. If you look into different places, you're gonna find a quality.
Right. I'm only bringing this up because obviously it's not because that's how I think or, that's how I feel. But a lot of the times when we're in a room of people and then someone has some IT or software related issues, they would always be looking at the Indian in the room. I mean, it's just sort of like the whole biased mindset of people. Like everyone has biases. And some people would have the kind of bias where they think only a certain people do a certain thing. So this is something that I've been wanting to explore, and this is why I brought this up. But
Oh, yes, sure. Wait a second. So I can tell you more about this. Okay, so when you say that the Indian person do IT thing, does Indian people say that? Indian people in India, does they say that all the Indians are doing IT thing?
no,
Not
actually,
really.
it's like non-Indians, or
Non-Indian.
when you look at memes online.
Exactly. So non-Indian people think that Indians do IT thing. The reason is, if the person is working in a different sector, there are going to be really low chances for them to interact outside India. So only those people who are working on IT or in the programming or development work, they're gonna have very higher chance to actually interact with other people. Take an example of Stack Overflow, maybe. It's Stack Overflow. If people don't know that, it's one of the question answers platform where you can ask a question, and people pretty much around the world, they can access and they can answer your query on the mostly it's for IT or programmers. So you can ask their questions and anybody can answer you. Does that this kind of thing exist for somebody who is working in let's see, F&B, like food and beverages? If somebody is working in that sector, that similar things exist? No, it doesn't. So if some person is asking a question from India, maybe a small town in India, let's take an example of my small town like Patna. From he's typing some questions, and he some guy who know what exactly he's saying, or what exactly he's asking, and he's sitting in Melbourne, he can answer from there. But similar thing you say, like if somebody is confused how much curry powders he should put inside his chicken tikka masala, he cannot ask that question to somebody who is sitting down in UK or in Berlin, maybe. Yeah. So the person who is working in IT, they get more chances to actually explore outside India, and that's one of the reason is people think that all the Indians work in IT, and that stereotypical actually apply to me as well.
Right.
And I
Yes.
work in IT.
And getting back to our agenda, obviously you just mentioned how it was like growing up in an Indian household, how that sort of influenced your decisions later in life. But I would also like to do a deep dive into how did growing up in an Indian household inform your personal beliefs?
Okay. I so these are one of my thoughts. Like the way you grow up, uh, or the way you have been raised, gonna affect you really, 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 really long time. It's not gonna go away. Uh, Including how much financial stability you need to feel secure, which kind of person you choose for your life partner, or what exactly do, or what's your thoughts about spirituality, your thoughts about having a connection with other person, or how do you live your life. It's going to affect for a long time. uh, i I see this thing is turning for me as well. I have noticed one of the pattern, and why I'm mentioning this, because I hang out with different person who have been grow up differently in India as well, or outside India, and I talk to them, and then I realize one of the thing that a person who grow poor, they gonna feel secure, financially secure after a huge amount of money. And a person who have been grown rich or grown well off, they tends to feel secure really early on the low numbers. Like I have noticed this, that some of my friend uh, who are like dirt poor. I would tell you why I'm using that word, dirt poor. They are dirt poor, and they don't feel secure till maybe they get a 1 million rupees, uh, or in if I translate into Hong Kong dollar, it could be 100,000. They don't feel secure unless this amount of money in their is into their bank account. I have some friends who are well off, and for them, yeah, I get a salary $50,000, let's spend all. It doesn't matter. So I have noticed this thing, and it have affect me as well, because I grew up in mediocre family. I have noticed that I don't feel secure, or for me the security terms come on really high, and this is one of the effects you get, I think, when you grew up grew up there.
So in one of the notes that you sent me before the recording, you mentioned about personal beliefs. Like there was one point that mentioned, you said people are gonna take you as a rude person if you give them your rational perspective, and that's okay. Can you tell us more about where that comment comes from?
Yeah, sure. So as I was telling you before, um, that I started living by myself quite early, around I was 14. And because of that, I needed to handle everything by myself. There was nobody to actually take care of you. Uh, Whatever you do make your own decision. And because of this attitude, I actually learned uh, to be a rational person quite earlier time. And when later, like in right now, if you see some person are doing something, and you can relate that, yeah, I have been into this situation before, and you know that how you dealt with, and then your rational thoughts get triggered, and then you tell the person that what's the root cause or what you are doing wrong. And it's very hard, like you know that what's the root cause, and you cannot stop yourself to actually uh, tell person that exact thing. And then they tends to take it like, oh yeah, why you are being rude, why you are telling me exact thing, because most of the people are very used to get like a soft answers, or get very sugar coated answers. And this is one of the things which has been changed for me. Most of the time when I see an issues, or when I want to say something, I would tell it directly rather than mixing uh, basically mixed signal, or saying in the sugar coated voices. And I expect other person to tell me the same way. The earlier when I told you that I find that Russian programmers are pretty good, there is a reason for that actually, and that comes to this being rational and rude. Most of the time when I work with the programmers who are, I would say, non-Asian. Basically, I see this pattern in Asian countries actually. So when I work with non-Asian developers, their attitudes are, okay, this is wrong, change this one, and send me for the review. That's how I get feedback, which is very helpful. Like, oh yeah, this is wrong, I need to redo the whole part. When I work with the Indian developers, or most of the time in the Asia as well, I see this same pattern in a local developers as well, like the one from Hong Kong or the one who grew up in China as well. They tends to be little uh, kind of a passive. They don't tell you exactly what's wrong. They will say, this part, maybe it can be done other way, or it can be done in different way. They're not gonna upfront tell you that this is wrong, change it. For a technical person, this is a crucial detail. Like, you need to get, okay, this is right or wrong. Like, for a developer, it's either if or else. There is no in the middle. So you tell me if it's right, I will approve it, I will deploy it or something. If it's wrong, I will hold it. So this is one of the thing I have seen in the developers who are non-Asian. That's why I said that I found Russians are pretty good in that. They're gonna tell you on the face that it's wrong, and yeah. So that's how it have happened with me. That if there is some rational points for you, tell the person. If you're receiving a rational thoughts, take it, think about it. If it's rude, you don't need to think about that it's rude. Maybe it can sound rude, or uh, but by the end, the the point you are trying to convey or the point you are receiving, if it's correct, it's correct. There's no workaround on that.
I can definitely relate to what you were describing there just now, but I do have thoughts both professionally and personally because professionally, I worked in broadcast for quite a few years, and the communication style is actually quite similar to what you just described with software engineering because it's like sometimes it's like about fixing bugs. For TV, it's like what's wrong you have to specify very clearly and whether or not you're going to have a guest or whether or not a segment is happening, it's either yes or no for live TV. Like yes, then you go as planned, and if it's a no, then you have to quickly think of something else to fill the airtime, right? So which eventually when I transitioned into a professional environment that's not broadcasting or that's not like live shows, I saw it sort of occurred to me that people were not really taking that kind of communication style really well if they did not work in a broadcast environment. Because like for me, the way I talk is just like, okay, are we going to have this? Yes or no? If no, then do something else. If yes, good, go as planned. But yeah, eventually during my career, I did sort of realize some people would find me rude for saying that, but in fact I was trying to be practical, right? Like if we don't have something, then it's good to know ahead of time, then we have time to put together something else. But on a personal level, I've been reflecting a lot in the past year because I also have been thinking about, okay, how come there were frustrations or some situations where maybe perhaps I didn't get along with some people professionally, and maybe perhaps it's because the kind of communication style from their point of view it was rude, but to me I was just basically being helpful or practical. So eventually during COVID I picked up a bit of like Buddhist teachings as a way for meditation to relax myself or to gain some other life perspectives, and I could not properly explain the kind of idea because for now I'm not a Buddhist expert at all, but I did sort of pick up some concept about how like different people are sort of in different courses of life. And I mean I could be here and the other person could be there, but if you're not in the same, like you're not in sort of like the same phase or stage of life, whatever you tell that person might not be able to understand you just because you guys are just in completely different spaces. So that somehow helps me to sort of like minimize the frustrations whenever I'm trying to talk to my friends or my colleagues and they don't understand what I'm talking about. And back in the day, I would be like, are you stupid? How come you don't understand what I'm saying? But these days, I'm like, okay, maybe they're just flowing differently in a very different point of life where we don't see eye to eye. But maybe eventually, if they are due to see what I am talking about, they will. I should not force it. So that's the kind of concept I picked up over the past year.
Yeah, that to be honest, in the IT world or the developer world, it doesn't work that way. And we have a thing that whatever your thoughts are, whatever you're working on, just write it down. And we have a famous term called RTFM. It, what it means is read the fucking manual. Whatever is written, read it. You don't need to ask the question. First, read it. What's it's written, and then let's talk about further. So the phase thing or the state thing you said that in the Buddhist teaching they have, yeah, it doesn't translate into
Yeah, it's
technical
more it's
world
more
at all.
for it's more for personal for sure.
Yeah.
Like for professionally, I still try to stick to that very straightforward communication style. I mean, I still feel that people find me, especially with Asian colleagues, right? Like they don't expect you to directly tell them this is wrong and please change it. They would be like, okay, who are you to tell me to change my mistake? But I feel like maybe when you work with more like a Western community or workforce, like they appreciate that kind of communication
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it saves everyone's time. But yeah, here in Asia, like when you tell the other person directly what needs to be done, they either don't respond or they will be like, oh, okay, why are you telling me to do this despite knowing that's what we need to do to move forward?
Yeah, that's the straightforward actually. I'm really uh, a really big supporter of productivity actually. Like you want to see your time and how much you are doing, uh, how how less distracted you are on the work, and you are coming to the point. I'm quite a big supporter of that. And the straightforward communication actually boosts the productivity. You don't need to process, you don't need to be really into uh, what do you say, like in a different emotional state to understand a person what he's saying. Is he angry when he's saying that this part is not wrong? Yeah, you don't need to think about it. He said it's not, it's wrong, just go change it and bring it back. So you don't need to convey that point, and it saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of your emotional state as well.
100%.
Yeah. When you remove the uh, a comment on your work is not a comment on you. It's one of the part, like you need to think about it. The comment on your work is not a comment on on you. When you remove these two things, you become highly productive actually.
Yeah.
You started to see that, oh yeah, this is the thing I'm doing, this is the work I'm doing, and that could be wrong. That doesn't mean that Ravi is wrong. Maybe the code he have written in the city it's a bad code. It's not good. But that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It's just my work is bad. So you need to separate this part.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, of course. On a side note, I do know that when some people might overuse the phrase of like "don't take this personally" before they start saying something completely terrible to the other person. But yeah, definitely, I agree with you about that whole straightforward communication style. This is why I get along with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, actually, on just now when we were talking about your personal beliefs, right? You did mention how the way a person grows up is going to influence that person's life decisions or the person, what he understands or not. And on that, I do have a bit of kind of like a thought because I do agree that how a person is brought up, where that person is brought up, has a far reaching influence on the person's adult life. And one of the examples that would stand out to me, it's a very random example, but it's basically a person's understanding about maybe arts and cultures, right? And like in Asian culture, or at least when we joke about Asian parents, we would always mention how Asian parents tell their kids not to study art because it's a discipline that doesn't earn them any money later in life. And the disciplines that Asian parents like accounting, law, medicine, or these days maybe software engineering, coding, IT. But what's interesting is when we socialize as adults, people do judge based on how much other person knows about cultures and arts. Like, for example, you would hear maybe comments like, oh, so you don't know who Basquiat is? What's wrong with you? So people judge in a way based on how similar or how different the other person is to them. And I would like to bring up that's exactly what affinity bias is all about. Because not to say it's bad, because we all have biases, right? But knowing the fact that just because someone does not know much about what you or I am expert at, it doesn't make the other person any less than you. It just means the other person probably was brought up completely differently or grew up in a completely different location.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. So on the comment of art, actually, I do have belief in this, that the way you have grown up and how you perceive the art as well, it's really really connected. Unless later in the stage you started studying actually arts and uh, started looking into deeply, and then maybe your perspective will change. Uh, my understanding of art, because why I'm saying my understanding, because I also grow up in a place where people don't encourage you to uh, study arts. To be honest, this is how it goes in in India that if you are really smart, you started studying science and technology. If you are a little bit less smart, then you pick up accounting, and if you are dumb, then get the arts and go move with your life. That's how it worked over there. So yeah, uh, but after in later stage of my life, I realized that art is not actually a dumb thing. It's a tool to tell to basically it's a tool to uh, tell your emotions out. Like how you gonna tell person how you feel from the words, uh, from whatever environment you have around. How you gonna communicate this internal emotions? You don't have words for every emotions. You don't know how to explain this. Not all the time people are either happy or sad. There are some emotions which is in the middle or maybe far beyond the happiness. How are you going to explain this? For those things, the arts comes as a tool. And it's even if you look like if some person have translated his emotions into one art, that emotions can go maybe centuries, decades, more than for a long time actually. It can go. We are still looking at the painting of Mona Lisa. People are trying to decode like what was the emotions inside when he was drawing it. Or yeah, so that's how the art comes, and the same for the culture. The thing is, when you grow up, if you have a limited choices to do in your life, which was the case for me, uh, I never looked at the art. I never understand art. The reason was you don't have time to understand about the art when you are. Let's take an example that you are working in an agricultural farm. Do you really have time to look to getting bothered about? There are some painters who are making painting of melting clocks, Salvador Dali. So do you need to bother about it? No, your worried is how I can bring food on the table. So because of this dynamics, I was in the similar situation when I was growing up. I was more focused on getting better career and becoming better in financial situation in my life, and I never looked at the art. I think I never looked at the art till I actually graduated or find a stable job. Yeah, so that have been impacted me as well.
Yeah, as I relating to the point I just raised now is that whether or not someone understands, for example, art, it really depends on, you know, the stage of life the person is, how the person's brought up, or even the priorities of his or her life, basically. But moving on, I would like to talk a little bit about how you ended up moving to Hong Kong, because you somehow ended up in Hong Kong. How did that happen for you? And what's your first impression of the city?
All right, that's okay. So I moved to Hong Kong around 2017. Yeah, the January of 2017. It's around this day. Yeah. Um, so what happened exactly is I worked I worked there for 2 years. Yeah, after graduation, I worked there for 2 years, and you know when when you get an increase in your i- from one position to another position, you started becoming greedy, and that's what exactly happened. I started becoming greedy, and every time when I go for new job or look for new job in interview, I ask them some of the perks that I think I should deserve. And after going through multiple interviews, multiple job, I wasn't satisfied at all. So I had three friends in Hong Kong earlier. They were my college seniors, and I, I was kind of a continuous contact with them. Then I told them the situation that this is what happening, and they said, why don't you move outside India and try to find something for yourself, or try to sell somewhere else. This is the time when it triggered me, like, yeah, why, what's the point I'm holding up here? Like, I'm looking for my career growth, and I'm getting stopped by these thoughts that I should stay in the same place where I was born, or same place where I grew up. So I started looking into this. I got a couple of very quickly actually within 1 or 2 months I got a couple of offers uh, from Germany, from Amsterdam, uh, and from Hong Kong. So once I got the offer, I talked to my friend. I told them that this is the situation, and they said, "Why do you want to go to Europe? What's the point? You should come to Hong Kong. We are here. You at least you know a couple of people. If you go to Germany, you don't know anybody. Uh, so why don't you come here? We also have low taxes." That was the trigger point for me. He said, "We also have low taxes," and that dude didn't tell me that what's the situation of real estate here and how much you need to spend. He said, "Oh yeah, we have low taxes," and I understand his point. That time he was in university, so he didn't had a real sense of spending as well. So he said, "Why don't you come to Hong Kong? We have low taxes as well." So that point, like, okay, let's go to Hong Kong. So that's what happened, and that's how I ended up in Hong Kong. The first time when I came to Hong Kong, that was during Chinese New Year. Yeah, exactly. That was the week of Chinese New Year, and it was quite cold as well. And first time when I came, I see all the shops are closed. There's nothing. Everything is closed. Nobody's on the street as well because in Chinese New Year this tend to happen. Everybody is out. Nobody's on the street, and the sky is gray. I was quite. I was feeling quite weird. Like what's going on? Like there's nobody. I saw a lot of videos and some pictures from Hong Kong. I'm like, where are these things? And that time, what happened? I booked a place in Mongkok. This is where I can find something very quickly. So I found a place in Mongkok. I stayed there for 2 days, and in that 2 days was during Chinese New Year, and I see nobody. And when I read online, it says, "Oh, Mongkok is quite crowding place, and you're gonna see a lot of people." And I see nobody actually, and I was quite shocked actually. I thought, "Oh yeah, that's gonna be pretty bad."
What kind of Hong Kong did you arrive to?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was quite different time actually. I s- I didn't realize that it's a Chinese New Year. I didn't know that it's a Chinese New Year.
But when you first moved here, were you aware of the cultural dynamics of Hong Kong?
Not really. I had no idea. Uh, I thought it's gonna be just a normal city, and that the Hong Kong was the first time when I was moving away from India. I never been in any foreign country before or
Right,
lived.
because of course Hong Kong, to many people, they think Hong Kong is a very multicultural city, where, well, of course the majority of the population is made up of Chinese from various backgrounds. It could be like Hong Kong Chinese, mainland Chinese, or Chinese Americans and Canadians as well, and expats who are mostly white professionals and ethnic groups, also including Filipinos, Indonesians, Pakistani, Indians and Nepalese. But the very issue of like racial divide does exist, and people with lighter skin, such as white people or East Asians, are viewed relatively more favorably. And while people with darker skin, such as South and Southeast Asians, are often subject to racism and negative stereotyping, where like you would hear comments about how like brown people are all bad guys, right? Like, have you actually experienced this yourself in Hong Kong, and how do you think of this?
So earlier, I didn't realize this, but with time when I started working here, meeting people, then I realized, yeah, there is a bias against Indian people. Uh, Actually, I can tell you a story about it. So, and this happened 2 times, not one time, not 2 times actually. It happened multiple times. Then I noticed actually. So there was one time. Me and couple of guys from the office, we were waiting in front of the restaurant to get a table, uh, to get sit down. Usually in Hong Kong, during lunchtime the restaurant get really crowded, and we were waiting for that. So this dude, he said, okay, and this guy is Indian, and he said, okay, let me get a beer while we are waiting. And he walked to the to the counter, and he told the lady that, can I have a beer please? And she replied that, we don't give beer to Food Panda. Okay, so what exactly happened? And we were standing right next to him, and we started laughing. Everybody started laughing. Uh, so the thing is this: most most people when they see a Indian person, the first thing in Hong Kong that comes in mind that, oh yeah, maybe he works for Deliveroo. So the moment he asked that woman for a beer, she thought, oh yeah, this guy is here to pick up the food. So she made a comment, and we started laughing.
I think
Later,
I was with you.
oh yeah,
Maybe
that
yeah,
day you were there.
for
I
maybe one of
remember.
the lunches because we were going out with a few more people, and I think maybe one of them was Indian, and I thought. Yeah, maybe he wanted a beer or he was trying to check on the table. And then, without saying a word, the restaurant owner already gave him this Food Panda, which is a delivery app, paper
I
bag. But I mean, on the bright side, you might get free food out of these
Yeah,
because they don't
yeah,
ask you
yeah,
any
definitely,
questions.
definitely. One time it happened with me in Causeway Bay. So we were planning to go for a hike, and a couple of guys were waiting for me. So I thought, okay, let me get a breakfast, and then I will come there. So I went to the restaurant, and I told them that I didn't say anything. I just went inside, and before I say anything, the guy says, "Oh, here is the package." And he was pointing to the delivery. For a second, I thought, okay, I should pick it up and go.
Free food.
Free food. Yeah. So the biases comes actually. I think it's one of my personal belief actually. I I do see people get biased, and my personal belief. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like that, but my personal belief is people being racist is and biased is actually a natural thing. It's supposed to be natural for a person, you know. For a human being, it's in earlier time when they were like nomads and cave people, it was very important for them to survive, and to have a perception for any stuff. Like, you go out, you should have a perception why the bushes is moving, like what's the noise coming from the backyard, or from the back, or even a quarter mile away. What's the noise? You don't perceive correctly, then probably it's a tiger, it's going to eat you. So because of this perception, people tends to have uh, this bias when a person looks differently from you, and like, oh yeah, this is a stranger person, he looks totally different than me. Let me find the negative thing first, and then I will go further. uh, you know that probably you must have realized this, that negative news goes really fast than the positive news, because we need to be sure that there is nothing wrong first. Good thing will come later. I need to make sure that there is nothing wrong. It's a genuine response from a human being. So that's what happened. So when you see a different person, you make a perception, and now the perception comes with either positive or negative, and that depends upon your previous experience. That's why I said being racist or biased is totally normal, actually totally natural. It's going to come naturally to you. If uh, see it this way, that like my parents, they never traveled outside India, or like most of my family members, they never travel outside India. They never seen a person, let's see, from Mongolia. So when they're gonna see a Mongolian person, they're just gonna see, oh yeah, it's just Chinese people, or they never seen a Filipino before. And if they look at them, they're gonna see this thing, oh maybe it's a Nepalese, or maybe it's a Chinese. So it comes with the perception that how many people you have met. And this is the same part, like, because media tell you a totally different story about India. And when you meet an Indian person, which kind of Indian person you have met before? Have you met all the Indian person who work with the IT? Then you're gonna think that, yeah, all the Indian person works in IT. These restaurant people, who they have met an Indian person who comes on a motorcycle and pick up a food for Food Panda. So that's how they know them. So for them, it's a natural response, and it's the same thing. let's see. There is a woman in Hong Kong, like a in maybe in New Territory. Let's take an example of a woman who is living in New Territory, and she rents a house. She lives in the same house, and maybe upper floor or lower floor she rents to somebody. It's happened to be an Indian person. Let's take an example. It's happened to be an Indian person, and she rented the house. Now, an Indian person gonna cook curry. To be honest, they're gonna cook spicy food. I cook spicy food as well. I like spicy food, and I cook spicy food. Uh, Hong Kong cuisine is not spicy friendly at all. They have a mild flavors, and see that yeah, the Indian person what they do is they play music, which is Bollywood music. Uh, Bollywood music is loud, quite fast as well. We tends to listen loud music. It's okay while we are eating dinner or while we are discussing something. So her experience comes on an Indian person that oh yeah, Indian person is cooking spicy food, which can make you very uncomfortable with the smell going out or spicy things going out, or he gonna listen loud music. So next time when she meet me, or when she meet similar looking a person who is like me, uh, Indian looking person could be from Sri Lanka as well, or could be from Pakistan, or maybe yeah, maybe from Middle East. Some of the Middle Eastern somehow they look like an Indian person. So when they see them, their perception is, oh yeah, it's an Indian person, and he listened loud music, which had a bad experience for her. So her perception would become like every Indian person gonna be like that. So let's stay away from from them and don't rent them our apartment.
Yeah, for sure. Like every time I've heard these stories from some student dorms as well. Like whenever they smell someone cooking something, it smells really strong. They would always without even looking at the kitchen, they would be like, "Oh, it must be that brown guy cooking."
Exactly.
Or how like they would see a brown person. Let's say that brown person grew up, was born and raised in non outside Asia, for example, like United States or the UK, but then without that person starting to speak, the person would already be like, "Oh, you have an Indian accent," but in fact, maybe that person does not have
Yeah,
an
yeah.
Indian accent.
I had I had a colleague in office one time, and this dude, he looks 100% Indian. And when I saw him, actually when I talked to him for the first time, I thought he didn't grow up in India, or maybe he's not from India, and I didn't see it really appropriate to ask him that where did you grow up or where are you from, because I was working with him, so I didn't ask him anything. After 3 months, we are hanging out and we are talking more and more, and then I realized he actually grew up in my city, just next to my city, and, and he said, "Ah, no, I think so." Their parents were in the their parents are diplomats, so he moved around different countries, and most of the time he spent in US and UK. So he had a different accent as well. I mean, basically he learned English there, so he definitely gonna have a different accent. I learned English in India, and I have an Indian accent,
Mm.
so he had a different accent as well. So I had this perception that yeah, he maybe he just grew up there, second generation, or maybe third generation. I don't know.
But I mean, obviously, you take a very relaxed approach in terms of racism or any racist comments directed at you. But were there any times when you were a bit offended, or, for example, Hong Kong people, for whatever reason, like they don't actually have a reason to think that, but then somehow they would think, oh, only Indian people go to Chungking Mansion. Have you ever encountered that kind of
Yeah,
comment?
yeah. All right. Let me give you a little bit of context. Okay, people who don't know that the Chungking Mansion is one of the hub for Indian food. The reason is most of the Indian restaurant in Hong Kong, they are tweaked to local people, and the restaurant in the Chungking Mansion they are not. So if you want to find the authentic Indian food, you gotta go to Chungking Mansion. So w- this it it happened around maybe around 2 years ago. So I was walking in a park with one of my date. So I was walking in the park, and she does speak Cantonese. So I was walking there, and uh, usually I'm not really a pet person. Like I don't see If I see a dog, I try to stay away from that. It's one of my nature. So this lady, she was walking the dog as well, and suddenly the dog, for some reason, it started to run towards me. So the moment it started to run towards me, she made a comment in Cantonese, and I didn't understand that. I don't speak Cantonese, but the girl explained me that what she said, and the comment was. Uh, that comment was to the dog. Why you are running to the Chongqing Mansion? So, so you see, so she was referring me as a building where there are a lot of Indian food,
You
Indian
symbolize
restaurant. Yeah,
Chongqing Mansion.
yeah, yeah. She was symbolizing me. That was kind of weird actually. That time, uh, I mean, slowly I do realize that it's not it's not correctly. I shouldn't take it softly as well. I should take it seriously. But yeah, I tends not to take it. I take I try to take it lightly. Like you're not gonna change uh, much. You cannot force people to change their thoughts. Basically, that's my thoughts. Uh, with time, it's gonna change automatically. When you will see more and more people in the different stages, and when you will see more and more people doing something apart from cooking an Indian food, then you will realize that yeah, there could be a different person, and it's not coming towards me. Actually, it's coming towards her, that she don't know that there are a lot of places where Indian people goes. There are uh, there are a lot of Indian people who don't eat Indian food every day actually, so they don't need to go to Chinking Manson every day. Yeah, so maybe with time she will learn that yeah, there could be some difference as well.
Absolutely. And this is the entire reason why I started this podcast, Proudly Asian, because I would like for, I mean, even different Asians, they would have misunderstandings about each other. And I would love to just create a platform for different Asians to be understood, to tell their stories to the world so other people could understand their viewpoints as well. A lot of the times, like, misunderstandings happen when one person assumes that's what the other person thinks, while the other person does not even reach out to communicate his or her thoughts about a certain issue. So that's when they get stuck. But since you were talking about how the date that you had spoke Cantonese, I do know that you have a girlfriend who is a Hong Konger. So how has it been for you in terms of dating a Hong Kong girl?
um, Dating in Hong Kong is not easy, to be honest. uh, and there is a reason for that. Most of the young people, they are not looking for something serious, or they are not actually focused on relationship. They are more focused on career, becoming uh, more stable in their life. And being an Indian person as well, it's kind of it's hard. You talk to any Indian guy, he says, "Oh yeah, it's very hard to find a date here." The reason is, because of these biases, people tends to think either a brown-looking guy is uh, is a bad person or poor. So when you look a white guy, you think, yeah, yeah, I have seen all the Hollywood movies. All the white guys come is a prince, and he comes on a horses, and he's a rich person, which could be totally different as well for individuals.
But of course, currently your girlfriend is from Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, yeah. So uh, she's from Hong Kong. She was born in UK. Uh, she grew up there, I think, till she was 10 or 12. I don't exactly remember, but yeah, uh, I think she. So the thing I was talking about, that you need to know the culture before, or person, or type of person, before you make your perception. This is what happened with her. Uh, Later I realized that she does interact with a lot of Indian in her job. She does interact. She went to India as well, so probably that she had a different perception from me, uh, rather than other people. She teaches yoga, so it's tends to have a lot of colleagues who are from India who are teaching yoga.
But do your parents have any comments about how you have a girlfriend here in Hong Kong?
For them, it's not really different as a race actually. Like where she come from, they are just happy that I'm into relationship or I have a girl. Just this is enough for them, because uh, they never interacted with any. I wouldn't say Hong Kong girl. I would say Chinese, because for them, uh, people who look like Chinese, they're all the whole Asia is China for them. This is the perception. And the reason is they never met different Asians. They never met a mainland Chinese girl or a Hong Kong girl. For them, they're just happy that I have a girlfriend and I'm at least heading somewhere.
That's good. That's good. I was only asking because a lot of the times Indian families would put together like arranged marriages for their sons and daughters, right? So I was wondering if like your parents would be, why are you dating in Hong Kong while we already have someone lined up for you?
Okay, I can give some context on that. So you know, it's uh, one of the thing for Indian person that they tends to marry where their parents find their bride or groom, whatever. Uh, the thing is, it actually depends upon the individual person. I have seen this thing. So I can give you an example. Let's see if a person is doing MBA in their early 20s or late 20s. He's doing MBA, and MBA is quite an expensive things to do, and he's taking a lot of money from their parents. They're bleeding the bank account from their parents. In this term, the parent have control on their kids. Like they're gonna listen to them. Like you have taken a lot of money from me, like real cash, not the small thing which children take when they are growing up, like real cash. So in that term, what happened is uh, the individual Indian person, they tends to uh, lean on their parents, and they started to listen to them, and they tends to not develop their own individuality, and because of that, they gonna they're gonna listen to their parents, and their parents are like, oh yeah, I have found a bride for you or groom for you. You should marry them, and they're gonna listen to that, and kind of a aligned with the Indian household as well, because in Indian household there's no concept of individual person. It's a concept of family. So when you are marrying a person, it's not that you are marrying a person; you are marrying the whole family. It goes like this, at least. Like
As you just mentioned, individuals are not seen as importantly as, you know, like family, as a community in India. I just want to zoom into another topic, which is about like gender equality in India. Is that one of the contributing reasons why maybe women are not seen as important as men? Or how do you view the entire gender dynamics in India?
for me, uh, it can be very very personal opinions actually, because a lot of people see it slightly differently. Uh, I can tell you, I can tell you real deep on that. So basically, um, you say when you see Indian person, who do you mentally see that? A person who is working in a company, who is working in a corporate sector as a IT professional, as a manager, maybe somebody is a doctor and stuff like that. But that's not the India. There are 1.2 billion people. It's going to be 1.3 soon. A huge number of population. Are everybody is working in corporate? No. If you look at the statistics, you will realize that only 1% population of India actually pay taxes, and which means the the tax base which has been set up for the government is quite low, and still people are not making. So there is a huge number, and when you say that what's the gender equality, you're gonna you're gonna get biased if you look at the corporate. you're gonna get biased totally, because you are talking about only 1% or 2% or maybe a little bit higher. You are only talking about those people. You are not talking about 80% population uh, who are in the village or who are working somewhere else. And as far I remember, the 65% of the Indian population lives in the village. So when you talk about gender equality, you should include those as well. And when you include those as well, the whole dynamics get changed. There is no concept of Indian gender equality in India. To be honest, this is going to be very heavy, and I'm telling you, there's no concept of gender equality.
And as an Indian man, how do you view, of course, how much we see of India, as you mentioned previously, also depends on the kind of stories that get picked up by international media. But the kind of stories that we do see a lot about India would be, I mean, this is a very heavy topic, but like rape
Crime against women.
cases
Yeah.
of Indian women, or like it just creates a certain perception that like rape happens a lot in India. How do you view this?
The rape, the number of the rape cases doesn't happen uh, that high, or it's not that brutal. Yeah, there was a couple of cases which were pretty brutal, and the media picked it up, and uh, it became a hype basically that time. But in general, it's not that way. People tends to think that there are a lot of rapes happening in India, but it's not. It's not exactly. Uh, but crime against women, uh, you can put multiple category in the crime against women. That's not low. And why I'm saying this, that uh, even the rape cases which get picked up by international media, where does those rape cases comes from? It comes from big city. It doesn't comes from a far village. There's no media over there. There's nobody to cover their story. The crime against women which is happening in India, it's not only happening in city. In city even it's happening quite less, because of the education, and people are pretty much different in city. There's a term called Bharat and India. Basically, if you translate the India in Hindi, the country name is Bharat, and there is a thoughts about it that some person comes from India and some person comes from Bharat, which is same country. What what is the discrimination here is a person who cannot speak English, who don't have much uh, understanding about world or outside India, they are from Bharat. And the person who tends to go to social media and rant about it, they are from India. So when you talk about gender equality, crime against women, you should include those as well, and those doesn't get reported. The major problem over there is because it's it's comes to the family pride. So if something happen, they tend to hide it, because if they tell it to the world, or they go to the police and they say something, other person gonna notice that as well, and it's gonna be very hard for their family. So the concept of individuality get merged with the concept of being in a family.
Yeah, definitely. Crimes against women. I think that it's quite relatable to the Japanese society as well, because those crimes, most of the time, like it's not like they don't happen, but they just don't get reported enough. But well, thank you so much for your insights. That was quite educational. But now moving on, we are going into the segment of Rapid Bias. So, in this segment, I will be asking my guests biased questions they have got asked at some point in life, and also some common biased questions Asians get asked a lot in general. So, Ravi, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Let's bring it up.
Let's get started. So, why do you date when your parents are gonna find a bride for you?
Because I'm an individual person.
Are you here to pick up a Food Panda order?
Oh yes. Can I have one?
Do you eat curry every day?
I do like curry. I don't eat curry every day.
In India, does everyone play with snakes?
No. Yeah, but they started playing mobile phone actually.
You are a software engineer. You must be a boring and shy introvert.
Sure, sure. No, no. Uh, well, I'm here talking to you. It seems like I'm not shy.
And what's the difference between African and Indian?
Do you see the difference? God damn it. That was. I should have mentioned this one earlier. Actually, okay. Let's get to this one later.
Do the signature Indian dance move.
The concept comes with that. Take a bulb and try to screw in. First in the left and first in the right, and then right. It's gonna be Indian gesture of dancing.
So that's just a quick tutorial of Bollywood dance moves. Are you Pakistani?
Oh no! And don't say that to an Indian person.
Only Indian guys go to Chongqing Mansion and they're all bad guys.
Oh no, no! Everybody goes to Chungking Mansion. Actually, Chungking Mansion have, I think, most diverse building in Hong Kong. You can find every ethnicity in Chungking Mansion, taking about all Southeast Asian, some Africans as well. Probably that's why people get too mixed up with what's the difference between African and Indians.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, these are some of the questions that Ravi got asked at some point in life for this Rapid Bias segment. And I must say, I was surprised that you got asked some of these questions. But to wrap up the conversation, I know that you started a healthy butter brand with your girlfriend, Spreadable, in Hong Kong. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Oh yeah. So as you mentioned before that I was quite health conscious when you met me first time. I'm still health conscious actually. So because of that, I was using some typical spreads. I was on keto as well that time, and when I was on keto, I used to buy almond butters from US, and or also buy some pecan butter from US. And later, what happened exactly when I met my girlfriend, and it was COVID, everything was locked down. We were just staying at one place. I tends to happen a bag of pecans with me, and I thought, okay, what we can do with this? And she suggested me that you can try making some spread out of it. Then I started reading about it, how to do. I started looking into cooking shows as well, as you know that I like to cook as well. So I started looking into that, and then yeah, we made a small batch from my blender to uh, the blender actually broke down during the almond butter. The blender broke down. Then we decided, okay, we need some different setup, and that's how we started actually. Then we thought, okay, we made couple of batches, and I gave to my friends because I had some pecans left in my house. So I gave it to my friends, and they were like, yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. And one of the guys suggested that you should try to sell it. I was like, okay, yeah, why not? Let's try to do this. And that's how it had a transition. And finally, in I think around September, yeah, finally in September, this in 2021 actually, yeah, we registered our company and we started the factory in Kawaichung. Yeah,
And
it's going well.
where can we find you?
Oh yeah, so you can. So we have a website, spreadable.com, and we have listed all the shops you can find. We can directly order from our website as well, or we have a retail shop. One of the retail shop is in K11, the art mall, not the fancy one. One of the locations is in art mall as well, so you can buy there as well.
Nice. And finally, to end the conversation, what does it mean to be proudly Indian, Ravi?
Yeah. So the moment you start to define yourself as a define only yourself, not not with the boast of your family, I think that would be the moment of pride, proudly Indian. Uh, when you uh, separate yourself from a community, and you become a strong individual rather than saying that I have a four-person family and they all do this. You started to say that I do this. I think that would be a proud moment for a
Nice.
proudly Indian.
That's a very strong message to end the conversation with thank you so much for being with us here, Ravi. And I can confirm that just because you're a software engineer, you're not boring and shy.
Yeah. Thanks, Isabel.
That's it for this episode of Proudly Asian. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at proudly.asian for more content. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Signing off for now. I'm Isabel Wong.
This